Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, and this is it folks. This is the finale to our look at all the brand new titles that have been coming out for Marvel Now. And I'll be totally honest with you guys, this is a bit anticlimactic. Let's just go ahead and say it. This is not quite like my look at Rebirth. I thought that my look at all the new Marvel Now books was going to be just like my Rebirth series, where I looked at all the brand new #1 titles that DC was putting out. I gave you my thoughts and my opinions on them, and I kept up with them every single month. But with Marvel Now, it started off pretty strong, but it kind of petered out. In fact, I didn't even do one of these videos last month because only 3 new #1s came out that month, and this month, yeah, again, only 3 new #1s come out, and after this point, it's not even really being considered part of Marvel Now anymore. So this whole giant relaunch of theirs, I guess it got people talking. I'll be honest with you. On the list of all the big relaunches, I don't think people are even going to really remember this one in a couple of years. However, there are still a few good new series to talk about, and it is worth taking one last look back at all the new titles that they released and giving you some final thoughts on them. So let's start our final look at all the new series Marvel is putting out by taking a look at the 6 titles that came out in February and January of 2017. First up, Captain Marvel. Now, I was hesitant going into this series because this series had the biggest task before it out of any of the books coming out from Marvel Now, which is that it had to make people like Carol Danvers again. Because when Kelly Sue DeConnick took over the Captain Marvel book a few years ago, she redefined that character. She made that character someone that struck such a tone with audiences that a diehard fan base for her sprung up almost overnight, and for good reason, because she gave Carol such a big personality. She made her an A-class character. So when Kelly Sue DeConnick left that book, everyone was nervous. Was Marvel going to be able to find someone who's going to be able to carry on this torch? Someone who's going to be able to make readers still love Carol Danvers? And they did. The brand new Captain Marvel series that came out after Secret Wars, that book put her in a brand new position as the head of Alpha Flight, as Earth's first line of defense against any attacks from space. It was the perfect job for her, and the artwork was gorgeous. Her personality remained intact. It was everything you wanted to read from a Captain Marvel book. However, then Civil War II came along. And you all know my thoughts on Civil War II. I couldn't stand the way that Carol was portrayed in Civil War II. They made her a straight up villain. And if you are going to make people like Carol Danvers again, you need to give her a new series that absolutely shows why she is an A+ hero. And this series ain't doing it. Listen, I am really sorry to say that. It's not that this book is bad, it's that this book is just so okay. It's totally passable. It is a straight C student book. It's not necessarily that anything is bad, but there is never a single page that gets me excited. There is never a page that makes me go, that's Captain Marvel right there. It's just, okay, yeah, alright, she's talking to people in space. Alright. And, you know, they're addressing some issues. I guess not as well as numerous other Marvel books have been doing it, but okay, sure. You know, it is a standard comic book. And Captain Marvel should not have a standard basic comic book. She doesn't deserve a standard basic comic book. She deserves an amazing comic book. And after Civil War II, she needs an amazing comic book. She needs a great comic book. She needs a book that will show that audience that is looking at her as a villain after Civil War II why she is such an amazing character, why they should like her. And instead, it's, you know, it's quirky, I guess, is the best word I can use to describe it. Listen, this entire series feels like someone who is looking back at the previous 2 Captain Marvel series and saying what made those work and is now trying to reproduce it, but you can't reproduce those previous 2 series. You can only build upon it, and instead it feels like someone trying to recapture the magic of the Kelly Sue DeConnick era. In fact, Kelly Sue DeConnick formed a fan base called the Carol Corps, and now they've made the Carol Corps a real life thing in the comics, and it feels so forced in there. It feels like they're trying to go, hey, remember how popular this was? Hey, remember how good the Kelly Sue run was? Remember that? Come on, we're still kind of like that, right? So yeah, we are not starting off incredibly well in January. So next we're going to go into USA Avengers, and USA Avengers is fun. It's a brand new Avengers series being written by Al Ewing, and Al Ewing has written tons of Avengers series. And what it is that Sunspot has decided that now that he is in control of AIM, he has to prove to everyone that AIM has a purpose, that AIM can be good guys, that they're not just an evil mad scientist organization again. So he is going to turn his AIM Avengers team into the most pro Go USA Avengers team ever. And this series does talk about some pretty good stuff. It talks about how America has many different faces, how many different people make up America, and I support that message. I'm glad that they're putting it in this book. And also, let's be honest, when I heard the pitch for this series, the first thing that came to my mind was G.I. Joe, and reading this series, it really feels like G.I. Joe, and not just because they're fighting some dude in a metal mask. So, it's fun, it's quirky, it is basically what the series should be, so hey, I applaud for that. But my big problem with this series is that it never at any point proves to me why it needs to exist. I hate saying that, I know it sounds cruel, but this isn't its own unique original thing. This is yet another Avengers book, and if you're going to have yet another Avengers book, you have to prove to me, why are you making this? When we already have this many other Avengers books out there, why do we need yours on the shelf too? And yeah, I'm not saying it feels just like the other Avengers books, but it never at any point feels like we need it. If you're going to make a 4th or 5th Avengers book to put on the stand, you have to prove to me that it is going to be some big, great, huge thing, and this is just fun. And if it's going to just be fun, it also needs to feel more original. It needs to feel more like it's going to be its own thing. So if you called it something aside from Avengers, that would help with it. But because you're calling it Avengers, I can't help but compare it to all the other Avengers books out there, and then it just kind of gets lost in the wash. So, okay, we're through 2 books, and I'm still not being that positive. However, now we come to Unstoppable Wasp, and I will just say this about Unstoppable Wasp. If there is any book out there that might end up saving the future, it's Unstoppable Wasp. First off, this book is fun. This book is upbeat. I absolutely love the brand new Wasp character. She's been fun in the Avengers book. She's amazing in this series. Every single word she says just makes me smile. This entire series has one of the best written protagonists I have read out of any of the Marvel Now books. However, the thing that I absolutely love about this book is that there comes a moment in the first issue in which Wasp is sitting down with Mockingbird and she just starts fangirling out. She says, listen, I'm a big scientist nut and you're one of the best female scientists out there. You were an inspiration to me and no one ever talks about you. No one ever talks about all the great things you've done. And Mockingbird actually gets kind of touched. She actually gets a little bit moved by the fact that someone is actually a fan of hers. And then they sit down and they discuss how S.H.I.E.L.D. has a list of the 10 smartest people in the Marvel Universe, which is actually something that has been referenced before in Marvel Comics. I mean, we constantly hear about how Amadeus Cho is the 8th smartest man in the world. However, for decades, it was only 10 men on that list, and Mockingbird says, yeah, it's just because they don't want to look towards female scientists. So Wasp says that she is now going to dedicate herself to forming a team of the smartest female characters in the Marvel Universe. She is actually going to form a team of all these young female scientists, and they're going to work together to try and make the future a better place. And I love that message. I think that's a very uplifting message. I think that any young girl who picks up this series actually will be excited to start learning about science. In fact, at the end of every single issue, they interview real life scientists about all the stuff that they're doing. That's fantastic. That is something I have never seen in a comic book before, and it's really something I should have seen in a comic book before. It is amazing to me that in the long history of comics dealing with super science, it never actually stopped to celebrate super science. So yeah, this is one of those series that I can absolutely picture young girls picking up, reading, falling in love with, and then starting to pay a lot of attention in science class, starting to actually pursue science as a goal in their real life. That's amazing to me. I guarantee you one day there is going to be some brilliant young scientist out there who is changing the world for the better, and I will guarantee you she read Unstoppable Wasp when she was a kid. Now moving into the final 3 books of Marvel Now, although I'll be totally honest with you, I don't even know if these count as Marvel Now anymore. They don't even have the Marvel Now banner on them. They just say Running with the Devil. They're all Daredevil themed series, but hey man, I needed something else to talk about today. As I said, 3 issues does not an episode make, so we're going to cover these anyways, but I will just start with Bullseye. Now, it seems kind of interesting for Bullseye to get his own miniseries because he's probably the most unlikable character in the Marvel Universe. I don't mean he isn't a cool character. I'm not saying he isn't a fascinating person to study. What I'm saying is, do you really want the guy who just kills people at random to be your narrator for a series? This dude is a sociopath on the highest level. Like, he makes the Punisher look like a family counselor. But hey, I can understand sometimes you want to read a book about the villains, sometimes you just want to see a crazy person be crazy, sometimes you just want a book that just goes up to 11 and gets nuts. I can understand that. Problem is, this series does not go up to 11, it does not get nuts. It's okay. It is the story of Bullseye going out on a big dangerous mission. That's about it. That's really all that we've gotten so far in it. And listen, I'm being a little bit harsh on it, but one of the reasons I'm being harsh is what I said when I first started reviewing these Marvel #1 issues, which is that Marvel charges more for their books than DC does, so I'm going to judge them a little bit harder. And this book is $4.99 because, again, Marvel decided to include a backup mini-story. The backup mini-story doesn't need to be there. It doesn't affect anything, there is no purpose for it, it is only there so that they have an excuse to charge you an extra $1. And yeah man, if I am just judging the main story, the thing that we are actually here for, it might be worth $2.99. I mean, it's fine, it's passable, there's nothing really bad about it, but at $3.99, yeah, I don't know, and definitely not for $4.99. This one, I hate saying it, but it's a pass. Next up is the new Kingpin series, and this one I was actually really intrigued by, partly because Matthew Rosenberg was writing it, and that guy has been doing an amazing job on 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank, and also on Rocket Raccoon. I would not have expected that guy to actually be a great fit for Rocket Raccoon, but so far that is a delightful series. So yeah, if anybody was going to write a very interesting and engaging crime thriller, I trust the guy doing 4 Kids Walked Into a Bank. Plus, he already tackled the Kingpin in the Civil War II tie-in, and I'll admit I did not read that, but everyone I know who did tells me it was amazing, so I'm like, alright, cool, I can't wait to see what this guy does when he gets an ongoing series. And the first issue is actually pretty intriguing. It doesn't even really star the Kingpin, it stars this reporter who really needs a hit. She really needs a story, and the Kingpin says, listen, I'm going to try and sell my autobiography. I like the way that you write, I want you to write my autobiography, and she makes no bones about it that, yeah, you're a murderer, you're a crime lord, you're a horrible person, and the entire time the Kingpin is just trying to convince her, yeah, that was the old me. I've done some stuff I'm not proud of, and one of the things that makes him so charming in here is that whenever she calls him on his crap, whenever she points out that he used to be a criminal, he doesn't deny it, but he never once seems happy about it. He will gladly admit, yeah, I used to sell drugs. That was my first job as a kid, but I'm not happy about it. I'm trying to be a better person. I believe you can tell the story of how I'm trying to be a better person. And what's great about it is that when you look at the way that the Kingpin is acting, he is legitimately acting in this book like someone who wants to be a better person. However, we, the readers, at all times know he's full of crap. He is not trying to be a better person. Of course he is still a criminal. We all know that because we know who the Kingpin is, but it sets all of this up so well that we know she's going to start falling for this and she's going to get tangled up in this big web that the Kingpin starts to weave, and yeah, it does make you want to see where all this is going to go. I will say, issue #1, not a whole lot happened. It did set everything up pretty nicely, but I would have enjoyed it getting a little bit darker. I would have enjoyed it getting a little bit more into each of these characters' backstories. If any of these series that I'm talking about need to have an extra little backup story in there just to show what else might be planned for the future, it's this one, but it didn't get. So instead, it feels like it was a little bit bare bones. It didn't feel like I was getting as much as I would have liked to have. But at the same time, yeah, it was actually an enjoyable read, and it did what it should have. It made me want to read issue number 2. And the last book that we're going to talk about while looking at Marvel Now is the brand new Elektra series. Now, I'll just go ahead and admit, I went into this series with a bit of a chip on my shoulder simply because I flat out loved the previous Elektra series. I thought that was an amazing look at this character, and Mike Del Mundo proved that he is one of the best artists working in the industry today. I thought that set her up, put her in a brand new position that I really wanted to see what kind of stories they would start telling with her. And then of course it got canceled, so I went into this one going, alright, you got a lot that you have to prove. You are following a very tough act, and it's fine. It is not a bad issue number 1. They're actually setting Elektra up for something really interesting by having Arcade be the villain. That's actually a matchup that I never once thought I would ever see, but yeah, I actually do kind of see what's going to happen. Having it all set in Vegas is a brand new setting for the character, and there's actually a little exchange between Elektra and a bartender that she meets that actually gives us a little glimpse at Elektra's personality and actually has me wondering if this bartender is going to be a recurring character. But aside from that, there really wasn't anything else to this issue number 1. And it's not like that's nothing. Yeah, there's definitely something there, but this needed way more meat on the bone. This was not enough to really get me engaged. I mean, I'll read issue number 2 because I work in a comic book store, so it doesn't cost me anything to read issue number 2. But for everybody else out there, I don't really know if I can recommend spending $4 on this. I mean, if it was $2.99, yeah, you know, hey, what have you got to lose? It's worth checking out for $3, but for $4, that's when you start getting into that gray territory. But alright, folks, like I said, it's anticlimactic, but that was it. That was our final look at Marvel Now 2016 going into 2017. There were a couple of really solid books, like the new Hulk series and Great Lake Avengers, and there were a couple of very pleasant surprises, like the Full Killer series. I had no idea I was going to enjoy that series that much. However, aside from that, yeah, this entire relaunch was just kind of okay. It wasn't really anything special. In fact, some of the best books from Marvel Now were the books that didn't get canceled and relaunched. They were the ones that were returning. So, honestly, Marvel, I know you love your big waves of relaunches, and hey, I think it's kind of cool to have books come out in seasons where every single year is like, alright, this is the brand new jumping on point for these people. However, come on, man, learn your lesson from this. You don't need to just constantly keep giving us brand new waves of number 1. You can just give us waves of new storylines. I think in the long run, that's a far more effective way to keep people interested in your books and get them excited for the brand new waves. Brand new number 1s every single year, yeah, it gets kind of repetitive, it gets kind of tiring. Brand new storylines every single year, that's actually intriguing. That actually is a good jumping on point. At least, that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of all these Marvel Now books, and come back next week for another episode of Comic Class, or stay tuned for some episodes this weekend where we're going to just geek out about everything else from the world of geekery, such as movies, video games. You guys know how this channel works. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.